that's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Friendship, the directorial debut of Andrew DeYoung, which premiered at the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival. A24 is releasing it theatrically May 9th, 2025.
Directorial debut?
Yes, has worked on a lot of television series, including Our Flag Means Death, amongst some of his more recent work, but yes, debut.
Nice. What is Friendship about? A suburban dad falls hard for his charismatic new neighbor. What is your pull quote?
Although it doesn't push itself to the extremes it initially promises, Friendship is often laugh-out-loud funny and sometimes starkly repellent thanks to Tim Robinson's embodiment of a lonely weirdo without any self-awareness.
Mine. Tim Robinson delivers as a disturbed loser yearning for Paul Rudd's affection in the darkly humorous Friendship.
God, you're more harsh than I. Disturbed loser.
Well, he knows the character he plays. I did think this movie was quite good.
I did too, but it was making me uncomfortable. He's a hard character to stay so close to for so long, because I also felt bad for this guy.
I'm surprised. I didn't find him as repellent as you did. I actually was expecting it to be more cringy and more uncomfortable.
It's hard watching somebody stumble over and over again and not learning from their mistakes.
Well, I think it comes from him seeming like a likable character, so I felt bad for him.
Yeah, he's not a malicious person, this character of Craig, but...
Let's tell the story. So Craig, played by Tim Robinson, he's like a middle-class guy. He's married to Kate Mara. She runs her own floral business, and they have a teenage son. Mm-hmm. And when we meet them, we see that they're in the process of selling their home.
And she is in remission from a bout of cancer.
That's right. When one day they receive a package that was delivered to their address incorrectly, so Kate Mara tells Tim Robinson, can you go take this to that house down the street, which happens to be the people who just moved in, and it's Paul Rudd and his wife.
His name's Austin. It's really the USPS that is at fault in this movie.
So Craig goes over there, and they kind of hit it off because Paul Rudd's very charismatic. And then later that night, Kate Mara says, oh, I talked to Paul and he invited you over for drinks and I said you'd go. So Tim goes over there and they really connect. They go on a little adventure. They go down to the sewer, break into City Hall.
And have a beer and smoke a ciggy on the rooftop.
Yeah, so now they're like the best of friends.
Living deliciously.
But things go left when Paul Rudd decides to introduce Tim to all of his friends. And that evening does not go well, which results in Paul Rudd telling Tim, we shouldn't be friends anymore. So Tim kind of spirals, but while that's happening, it's also important to know that he and his wife, their marriage is kind of rocky. She keeps talking about her ex-boyfriend, Devon, who's, all I know him from is he plays RuPaul's boyfriend in AJ and the Queen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But, and he's a very handsome man, so of course, Tim feels a way about it. But one night, Tim tells Kate, let's go on an adventure. And he takes this lady to the damn sewers to try to break into City Hall.
He's emulating everything that Austin has showed him.
Paul Rudd's character, that's right. But when they get down there, they kind of get lost. And then all of a sudden, we realize that Kate Mara is missing. And it turns into like a baby Jessica situation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But it seems like she's only gone for like a night. But when she returns, she's a new woman. Because in the beginning of the film, it's like a group therapy session, and she shares like how she's feeling after her cancer diagnosis, and that she's hoping that she can eventually get a bigger car so she can do more of her deliveries, and that maybe she can finally have an orgasm. So when she returns from being stuck in the sewers, she tells Tim Robinson, because now she's has a new kind of confidence. She goes, well, while I was down there, I had an orgasm. And the story is ridiculous.
Yes.
But it's clear that she doesn't want to end up like her mother, who stayed with
her narcissist father. And I don't think that Craig is a narcissist. I think she might be more of a narcissist.
I agree. So let's talk about it more. But to finish the story, Kate Mara basically separates from Tim. She goes to live in the guest house of her ex-boyfriend.
Sure.
But the end of the movie is that it's their son's birthday. So Tim and Kate have to reunite to have dinner with the son.
Who's played by Jack Dylan Grazer, who I believe you liked in Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Oh, that was him.
He's also in It. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked him in this movie too. Well, and also his character, I assume, was queer. But then we see that he has like 2 little girlfriends. So I thought that was cute. But anyway, at his birthday party, I guess Tim, trying to reconcile with Kate, he buys her a minivan.
Finally. And did you notice he had Tami's...
I did notice he had put her business name on the side of the van. So that's a very nice gesture. And she's pleased. So she decides to go back to their house, because she's not living with him anymore, to watch a movie with, her son and Tim. And we realize that Tim forgot to get candles for the birthday cake. So as he's leaving, he sees that Paul Rudd, who he's now estranged from, is having a party. And so Tim cracks. And we've seen throughout the film, he has like impulse control issues.
Yeah, I think he has several issues.
Yes, which we'll talk about. But he goes into the house. It's also important to know that earlier in the film, Tim had broken into Paul's house after he had stopped talking to him and stole a gun that Paul Rudd had in the house.
Like as a gift, as a weatherman, because it said, and printed on the box, it says, "Storms a coming."
Oh, I didn't mention, Paul Rudd's character is a meteorologist.
Yeah, we need to talk about some movie connections with Paul Rudd.
So Tim breaks into Paul's house and starts waving that gun around because he's mad. Like, why won't you guys give me a chance? Like, I made one mistake and now you won't be my friend anymore.
It's full like Michael Douglas falling down. Like his second time doing that, actually.
And of course, they call the police on his ass. He gets arrested, and the final shot is as Tim Robinson's character is being carried away in the back of a police car. Paul Rudd winks at him.
This is like the elevated The Cable Guy.
Yeah. Well, I think the darkest part of the movie is that Tim's life is ruined. Yeah. He lost his job. We see that now he's like a meter maid or parking enforcement person. His marriage is certainly in trouble.
When he gets arrested at one point, he screams, "I'm a program manager at Universal Digital Innovations."
There are a lot of very funny moments, but I think some of the ones that were really my flavor are that Tim Robinson's character has these outbursts where he just starts screaming like a little kid. And it feels very authentic.
Yes, like he's at the end of his rope. But I like that it's set up, there's enough going on under the surface that allows for an actual character study to be built. Because how we meet him, and I think, you can fill in a lot of the blanks, like his wife that survived cancer, that's kind of defined their relationship, and now she's kind of completely oblivious to him. And this is a man who I see as somebody that's never had the opportunity to work through anything, so this is a perfect storm of things happening.
Well, let's talk about character study, because Kate kind of says to Tim, like, "You're a narcissist like my dad." She's implying that. But I think that he's very awkward.
Yes.
He seems immature.
Yeah, like a boy.
Like a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he's...
Not like a lot of straight men that reach midlife crisis age.
But he looks younger, like he's younger than I am, and they have a 16, 17-year-old son. So he's been married to this woman for a long time. It seems like he's worked very hard because he has kind of like a nicer position. And then the way his wife treats him is kind of like, the saying, like, she wears the pants, maybe, like, she's very sort of domineering over him.
She's cold.
And like you said, I assume that maybe he really dedicated a lot of time to her when she was sick.
Or in his way.
In his way.
That probably was misinterpreted because he doesn't know how to communicate.
But I don't think she knows how to communicate.
No, she doesn't either. They're both at fault. But she's cold to him, but not to the son, who she kisses on the lips. Yeah,
the son and the mom have a very intimate relationship, which I found funny. And then even Tim's character is looking like, "You kiss him on the mouth? Like, what's going on?" And then she's so flagrant with how she talks about her ex. Mm-hmm. I would have been mad as hell.
Oh, yeah, this felt like if Rick Alverson, and I know you're not familiar with his filmography, if Rick Alverson had directed American Beauty.
Okay.
That's what this feels like.
I'm just going to go through my notes. When Tim and Paul, they go on this adventure and they go through the sewer system, and it's like, what are they doing? And then we see them enter a government building. So it's like, oh my gosh, like, what kind of trouble are they going to get into? And all they do is go to the top of City Hall to smoke a cigarette and drink a beer. But the best part of that is the view from a top city hall is so ugly. Like you're surely like these are federal charges breaking into a government building,
And this is it.
And this is the view you were trying to
I think
get.
that's what was making me so bummed out watching this is that everything that around them is so there's nothing magical about any of it. And watching somebody in this state of wonder, it's like, oh God, for this.
Well, that's what made me sad for his character, is that he probably does have this mundane life because he acknowledges to himself, he gives himself a pep talk at one point, like, don't be awkward, like, people like you. So I feel like, I mean, imagine being in such a glum situation and then also feeling like you can't shine. Like you're also your own obstacle.
Yes.
So that was sad.
It's a double bind. The town they live in is called Clovis.
Yes.
Which is the name of the cat in Sleepwalkers, I believe.
That's right. Paul and Tim go on another adventure where they're standing in like some marsh and Paul is showing Tim like how to pick mushrooms. And then Tim's character starts sinking in like, it's not quicksand, but like
mud.
But the way he reacts, I just think he's so funny when he has these outbursts like a little kid and starts screaming.
So the mushrooms, do not pick mushrooms if you do not know what you're looking for. And I knew that was going to come back.
I knew it was going to come back because the first mushrooms that Paul picks, they're edible and Tim cooks them. And it's kind of a nice moment where he cooks breakfast for his wife and she's really impressed. But then he tries to take his son out to emulate what Paul was doing. And he picks the wrong kind of mushrooms and eats them. And then we get a funny scene in the mall.
Because he's got the sweats.
I do wish that there would have been a little bit more. The son seems oddly connected to the dad.
Yeah, he's very loving towards his father.
He's loving towards his father, but he also seems annoyed by him. It was an interesting...
But the mushrooms, I thought that was going to come back in a heavier way.
Well, yeah.
Because there was the new Francois Ozon film, When Fall is Coming. That's something that happens in there where this grandmother purposely feeds her daughter some mushrooms to get her sick.
Another plot point is when Paul and Tim first become friends, Paul sees his dream car, which is this ugly, like, yellow Chevy Corvette. So at the end of the film, when Tim sees that Paul's having a party that, of course, he wasn't invited to, he also sees that Paul bought that yellow Corvette.
Well, Austin told him, you'll be the first guy I give a ride to.
But now that they're not friends. So really what happened at the end of the movie is that Tim saw that car and he's driving this new minivan. He was going to ram into it. But another plot point is that Tim's character keeps telling everyone who will listen that the speed bumps that are on their street, he's responsible for that. Like, he had to contact the city. So when he goes to ram into Paul's Corvette, he actually hits a speed bump first, and so it wrecks the van.
And it's all going to go downhill. And I think both those vehicles are supposed to showcase the disparity between their lives.
Sure.
As well.
Another plot point is that Tim's character has a thing about not wanting people to spoil Marvel movies.
I loved all the dragging of Marvel. Extra half point for that shit. Could have had more of that, actually.
Okay, Paul Rudd almost went on my worst hair list. And as soon as I was about to write it down, we realized that he's wearing a wig because he's bald, which is a plot point in the end.
Yes.
But as to why Tim starts waving the gun, because he knows that Paul doesn't want his friends to know he's bald.
It'll ruin him.
So at the end, when he shows up to the party with the gun, Paul freaks out and trips, and his wig falls off. So Tim doesn't know what to do except to tell all the other guys to, like, get down or he'll shoot them. So he's threatening them so they can't see Paul without his wig on. And then once Paul puts his wig back on, he tells the guys they can get up. But at that point, it's too late. They had called the police.
Yeah, Austin's got Monique heart problems with his wig. He needs to glue that down.
When they get arrested, the police officers recognize Paul Rudd's character because he's a meteorologist. And they ask to take his picture. So we see Paul take pictures with the cops. But then after they get out of jail, Paul calls Tim, who he's now estranged from, saying, please don't tell anyone. This could ruin my career and my life. But what secret? Like
the hair. It's his hair.
Oh, he was talking about the hair?
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about being arrested.
No.
Okay, then that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why are you trying, like, I mean, anyone can see you were arrested.
Yes, they can.
And like the cops literally took your picture that they're probably going to post on Instagram.
So yes, no, it's the hair for sure. It's somebody that vain. But getting back to Paul Rudd, I had completely blocked out that he was a weatherman, a meteorologist in Anchorman.
Anchorman.
And then also, this feels like the antithesis to something like that movie he did with Jason Segel. I Love You, Man.
What's the movie with Robin Williams and he's like depressed and in a isn't there like a photo booth?
1 Hour Photo. Well, that's kind of a dark comedy as well.
I feel like if you mix I Love You, Man and 1 Hour Photo maybe, or...
Sure, yes.
Another fun scene is after Kate Mara basically says, I'm leaving you to Tim Robinson, he had a previous scene at a cell phone store where he was trying to get buddy-buddy with the kid working at the store, like invited him for drinks, and the kid's like, I'm only 18. But then he goes, but the kid does say, if you ever want to party harder, let me know. So after Kate says, I'm leaving you, he goes back and asks the kid for something harder. And the kid offers him like weed, ecstasy, 80 Ritalin, or Adderall.
But he's like, do you have ayahuasca?
He's like, no, but I have the toad or something. Mm-hmm. And he literally has a toad that secretes some venom that he has to lick off the toad's ass.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing, I guess. I've seen that in a couple films.
But I will say, the scene didn't go where I thought it would go because Tim's character licks the toad, and then you think we're going to get this like trippy psychedelic scene, but actually he just kind of trips out and thinks he's at a Subway sandwich shop and that an elderly Paul Rudd is making him a sandwich. And then he just comes out of it like that was it.
That was kind of an I saw the TV glow moment.
Kind of.
Locked in there. But when that kid is holding the ass of this toad over Tim Robinson, he's like, don't pop it. It looks like you're going to pop it.
Yeah, Tim's telling the kid, do not pop that frog on me. Oh. My final laugh for the film is at the end when Tim goes to Paul's house now that he has like his friends over without him, and they have adopted a new friend. Like maybe like a replacement for Tim Robinson's character. And that friend's name is Jimp.
Jimpy.
Like jump with an I. I thought that was funny. Anyhow, I only am familiar with Tim Robinson from like social media clips of him saying like, you sure about that? Like that's all I know from him. But I thought he was really funny, really cute. I would definitely watch another film he's in.
And very despairing.
And of course, you know, who doesn't like Paul Rudd?
Yeah, Paul Rudd's I mean, you know, maybe Paul Rudd's a little typecast, but again, he works so much better here than he did as like a loser dad in Death of a Unicorn, which I think he was the wrong casting for, but he's always nice to see.
What would you give Friendship?
3.5. I
think it's very good. I would give it 3.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.